Now, in terms of structure, this is what the to-do app looks like, and we can argue about whether this is the best way to do it or not, but what they're driving at is you're going to have some basic separation in your JavaScript. There's going to be kind of this top-level app view. There's going to be something that sort of combines with collections. There's going to be that usually named after the model, except it's plural. You're going to have a collection of models. In this case, it happens to be a to-do item. The router, that's where we start getting into make the URL change, even though we didn't actually go anywhere. Update the history stack so that users can use their back and forward button and make the URL make sense so that somebody could actually type in a URL and get to this state, or they could bookmark. How crazy is that? And then you're going to have some set of views that are going to interact with those models. It doesn't have to be structured this way. In fact, you could do it all in one file if you wanted, but boy, does that get hard to maintain. All right, now, I'm not in a position to argue whether this is like the best way to do it, but this is how you're going to see the to-do apps laid out, for better or worse. Right? So if you play around there, that's what you're going to see. Now, in terms of what it actually looks like when you interact with it, ooh, isn't that pretty? You go ahead and you start typing stuff in, you hit enter, bam, there it appears on the page, rinse, repeat. Okay, this is a model. Isn't that pretty? All right, so what do we got going on in our model here? Well, one of the things you'll notice right away is we're going to extend something. So we are going to get some stuff for free from the fact that we are extending from backbone model. That's kind of handy. We're going to get things like save. We're going to get ways of retrieving and setting attributes. We're going to get an empty validate method, things of that nature. I get to set some defaults. So when you create a new instance of a to-do, if you don't give me a value for done, it's false. If you don't give me a value for order, I'm just going to use to-do's next order, please. And then you're going to get some set of functions. In this case, we're just going to update. That's all we're doing there. So this.save, save is one of those magic methods we get from extending backbone. All right. Now, we're going to have a collection of these items, and not surprisingly, that's going to extend from our good friend backbone.collection. So again, we get some stuff for free. Nice. In this case, we're going to have to-dos as our model. Now, don't get too excited. That doesn't actually mean anything. I mean, you can put whatever you want in there because it's JavaScript. It's not like doing any type checking for you. This is just as I expect to see models here, okay, that are uptight to do. So don't be giving me circles. You define the storage mechanism. In this case, I'm actually just going to use local storage. I'm going to say, all right, browser, go ahead and just store it yourself. There's a nice little proxy on top of that, so I don't have to deal with the fact that the browser doesn't know how to do that. It does that for me. More likely, in the real world, this is going to be an AJAX callback to your server. That's pretty difficult. And then we're going to have some set of functions. In this case, we're leveraging a library, the one library that backbone depends on, which is called underscore. And by the way, even if you think this whole MVC thing is just a whole bunch of hooey and why would you ever want to do that in JavaScript, I can totally respect that. You owe it to yourself to spend a few minutes looking at underscore. All right, and there is, and I'm blanking out, there's a drop-in replacement for underscore that at least allegedly has better performance. And if you poke around in the to-do site, you'll find that pretty quickly, but I'm blanking on the name of it. Underscore is a JavaScript utility belt. And it gives you a lot of interesting little functions for doing some functional programming stuff, bringing that concept into JavaScript. Some people argue that's a better way to write programming, period. Another nice sucks rock kind of argument we can get into. A lot of interesting stuff there. So this is actually taking advantage of one of those functions, and that's filter. So what we're saying here is, hey, collection, I want back a different collection. I don't want everything you got. I only want the things that match this. So give me a filtered list where the things are done. That everybody could very quickly write the opposite method. Give me the things that are not done. There's actually a couple ways you can do that. But very, very powerful thing. Again, underscore, you don't have to believe in any of this MVC stuff to take advantage of that. This is the view part, and the most interesting aspect to me here is this block right here. This is your event block. Now, a lot of you, I can just guess, are using jQuery right now. And if I went up to your application and I picked some random interesting element, and I said, hey, how many events are tied into this element? Could you tell me? Could you confidently describe every single event that's tied to that element? I mean, probably when you first coded it, you were very disciplined. All your events went in the same place. But then, you had to make that quick fix, at the end of the iteration, and so you jammed something in, and then the intern got a hold of it, and they put something somewhere else, and now you got event logic scattered all throughout your code. Lovely. So if you wanted to add an event here, where would you go? You needed to update an event, where would you go? Now, we can argue about the syntax, right? This is a tuple without in a language that doesn't have them, right? But read it left to right. What do you think is going on here? What's that first element? What does click probably mean? The click event, right? What am I doing the click event on? What do I care? When somebody clicks just anything random? No, I care when something has the check class applied to it. So when someone clicks on the check, do what? Toggle done, please. Toggle done is, of course, a callback to a function that I did not show you. Rinse, repeat. I love the fact my events are in one place and I can quickly find them. That to me is a win. And then, of course, you're going to have some set of functions. In this case, the initializer says, all right, what events do I care about? So what this view says is, hey, when the model changes, I want to know about that. Because when the model changes, I want to render myself. And if the model goes away, I want to know about that too. If the model goes away, you don't need me anymore. I'll go away myself. I'll just disappear. Poof, gone in a public mode. Rinse, repeat. And then, of course, you're going to have a set of callback functions. So render here. Now, some of you, again, that know jQuery might recognize a good friend hiding in this code. Now, one thing I want to caution you on with some of these MVC libraries, some of them are less forthcoming about their dependencies than others. Now, you don't need to use jQuery to use Backbone, although you will often see jQuery and Backbone paired together. Now, bear in mind that one of the rationales to moving towards this style of programming is these libraries are much smaller. And for a lot of us, like, smaller, who cares? I write desktop applications. I've got a big fat pipe to every one of my customers because they all are in my building or they're on my network, they're on my backbone. You know where more of your customers are coming from these days, though? They're from these little devices that we all have in our pockets. And you may have noticed we don't always have 5 bars of LTE coverage. So now all of a sudden with these bad boys, size matters. And it's like, I want a smaller packet because if you're asking me to download the world, I might not be able to do that before I hit a dead zone. And you probably noticed some of the applications you use on your phone day in and day out handle a less strong connection better than others. I've got one in particular that, my God, if I don't have like 4 bars, this thing just doesn't know what to do. It's like, oh my God, I can't talk to my server. Like, really? Maybe you guys need to rewrite that. So a little bit of JavaScript mixed in there. And again, all that's doing is saying what? Go get my template, take my model as JSON, mush them together, which beats the pants off of trying to concatenate some strings together and hopefully you get it right, especially if you're trying to generate that from your server. There is an argument to be made today that your server should not be doing view. That your server's job should be data. You ask the server, hey, I need the account information. Here you go. That's all I know. I'm not going to tell you how to display it. I don't know who you are. You might be a TV. You might be a 3.5-inch phone. You might be a standard desktop application. But I, as a server, that's not my job. You're the client. You figure out how to best present this data that you asked for. That is a very powerful paradigm. Because I will tell you this much for a fact. Anyone who tries to sell you a unicorn of an app server that says, oh, look, I've got the mobile channel covered. They're lying to you. Right? You want to boil down the mobile thing? I don't care whether you think HTML5 is better than native, right? That's a fun argument to have. The only thing that really matters in terms of how you solve the mobile problem, guys, is did you rethink the experience? If you didn't take time to rethink the experience, you failed, period, full stop. I don't care if it's the most gorgeous native iOS app anyone's ever written or the fanciest pants HTML5 thing that's ever been created. If you just said, I just took exactly what they have on the desktop and boom, it's on the phone. No, sorry, wrong. Try again. The use cases on the phone are a little different than the use cases on the desktop. That's the part we need to spend our effort on. The actual solutioning, okay, it's a fun argument, but it's not nearly as important as rethinking the experience. All right, this is how this thing actually works in practice. Those of you on the phone aren't actually going to see the video. That won't play on my monitor, sorry. Notice it is updating instantly. Notice the part on the bottom, 2 items left, 3 items left. That pops up instantaneously. This is obviously a very trivial application. Let's see what kind of mood I was in when I wrote this. It was a Sunday, in case you couldn't figure that out. And in fairness, my wife was cleaning the vegetables, not me. But as we start doing that, look, instantly, 1 completed item, 3 items, 2 complete items. That's instantaneously updated. From the user's perspective, it's just working. As opposed to what we've done in the past. Well, let me go ask the server to make sure I can mark this completed. Let me go ask the server to make sure I can delete this. No, we'll deal with that in the end. And of course, yes, your server could GAC, but come on. That can happen today too. Now again, this does use jQuery. You don't have to use jQuery, but you will see plenty of jQuery mixed into this. Obviously, that increases your footprint. So if your goal is to have the smallest download possible, not with jQuery you won't. Now we're getting closer to a world where jQuery has a builder where you can say, I only want these functions, and that's all you get, as opposed to here's jQuery, here's everything. We're still a little ways away from having that, but that's certainly something that's on their radar, to have a way of configuring jQuery to be what you want. You know, there are a few projects out there right now trying to kind of poke jQuery in the side to get them to move faster. Zepto is one example of that. That's something that Thomas Fuchs wrote. Very interesting stuff. Again, guys, not that hard. If you don't like the To-Do app, there is actually a wine seller app, which appeals to me because I like wine.